The Joe Rogan experience.
You know,
Right.
I believe that there is no such thing as great risk-free television like that. It's good. You just got to, you know, I just turn up and I assess what I see and I do what I'm comfortable with, and I want to make great television. That's it. And if sometimes it got a bit sketchy, so be it. We've all done that. You know, that's the way the world lives. And I think what happened with Top Gear was I saw repeatedly, too many times, my two co-hosts who didn't have the experience I had in cars. This is the critical thing. I'm qualified to make those decisions because I've done it a long time. They weren't. One of them is an actor comedian. The other guy is a pro cricket player. Brilliant entertainers. They were great hosts. But their roles were to make people laugh, and my role was to tell people what cars were like. And all too often, in the last year, I saw situations where it got too dangerous. And it culminated actually in us being in Thailand. Myself and Paddy were in Thailand. And we did a go-kart race down a hill in just compacted mud on wooden go-karts with no engines. And I just looked at them and I said, this is just this. So it's not a question of whether we get injured, it's how injured we get. So just have an ambulance at the bottom because something's going to go wrong. Sure enough, I broke something in my hand, broke a finger or what have you. And I just thought, which sounds ridiculous from your background because you're super tough guys, but it hurt.
No, I don't want to break my fingers.
I didn't. And also, it was a shit piece of television. So I always said I don't mind breaking my hand if we get a BAFTA for it, or an award. But this was just the shit skit, and I ended up damaged, and it went on too much. So anyhow, I went to the BBC and I said, I want to have a meeting with the head of health and safety because this is not good. And what's really killed me is that no one's ever really acknowledged the fact that I called it beforehand, and it's very difficult to live with that initially for me when I thought I'd done the right thing. I'm not very good at that. I normally just go with the flow, but I saw this coming. I thought I did the right thing. I went to the BBC and I found out really that no one had taken me very seriously. I did a bit of digging afterwards. The conversation I had with those people was sort of acknowledged. Then they tried to sort of shut me down a bit. And then they didn't look after me at all. They just sort of left me to rot. And even now, I'm totally perplexed by the whole thing. It's to actually say to an organisation, this is going to go wrong, and then be there the day that it goes wrong, is a position I never expected to be in, and I never want to be in again. It's strange and pretty heartbreaking in many ways. I loved that show.
So did the conversation between you and the network completely stop after the accident?
They just sort of left me to sweat, really. I just sat in where I live and drank whiskey. I didn't have much contact with them at all. Everything went quiet. They had 2 inquiries into the accident commissioned, neither of which I had access to. I pushed very hard to have access to the second one and saw some of it. And I had this, this is one of the most bizarre interactions I've had. I sat down with someone from the BBC who was going to talk me through bits of the second inquiry into the accident. And I'd already been told that I no longer had a job. So I'd been told that Top Gear was done. And at the beginning of it, he said to me, I won't name him, he said, I want to thank you so much for taking part in this because it's really going to help us as an organisation going forwards. I said, well, it doesn't really help me. I've lost my job. And I'm always reminded of that old adage from a very brilliant BBC comedy show, which was never commission an inquiry that you don't know the outcome of in the first place. So the whole situation was ridiculous. And I've never told anyone that. I think, and I want to tell people that I did, because a bit of me thought, as the experienced driver, do members of the public think that I didn't do enough to protect Andrew? But and Paddy as well. They both experienced other incidents on that show that I think were unacceptable. And that's coming as someone who loves a bit of risk. If you and I went outside now and there were 2 quad bikes, I'd happily roll it for a laugh with you. I'm that guy. And even me as that guy thought it had gone too far, which I think is important to say.
Right. Well, that is the problem with those shows, is they always want to keep pushing the limit. And it's generally the producers who don't quite understand the limitations of the vehicles.
And they don't have the experience of what it's like to actually be in control of that vehicle or what is possible.
Right.
So all too often it's, can you just do that?
Right.
And then you want to be a crowd pleaser. You want to be the guy that can do it.
We had that on Fear Factor.
Yeah.
When I was hosting Fear Factor, there was a a couple of times where I was like, what the fuck are we doing? Especially the second season. Like, Fear Factor started in 2001 and went to 2007, and then we came back again in 2011, and we only did 6 episodes. And they tried to make it just really ramped up. And when it was canceled, it was actually canceled because people had to drink donkey sperm. Yeah. Which was pretty minor. And I mean, it's disgusting, but it wasn't anything that was going to risk anyone's lives. But I was really feeling like if this keeps going, the stunts are so spectacular and so big. We're launching cars through moving trains. There was a moving train, and then the train had all these like cardboard boxes in it. We launch a car off a ramp like sideways, and it goes through the train. You have to time it just right so you don't hit the car into one of the big metal.
And someone in the car.
Yeah, driving it. Yeah. Oh yeah.
My experience of that now is that if you establish really big stunts that have big vision and are ambitious, they tend to come with them a level of rigor that means they are executed well. The difficult area is the kind of just being at a test track with a smaller crew and someone says, give that a go. That's when it goes wrong, because no one's really thought about it. They're saying, "Well, we've done the risk assessment, but just give that a go while you're here."
Yeah.
I think that goes wrong. And also, my experience, and this is where everyone that's shot with me will have been reminded of this now and again. Close of play, end of the day, that's when it goes wrong. If you're at a test track, it's just, the light's coming down. There's 10 minutes to go, and the director says, "Just do that." I go, "No," because everyone's tired. Someone's going to have ignored the lockdown on the circuit. There'll be someone coming driving the other way with the coffee cups over there. It's the end of the day.
Right.
If it's 6 o'clock, 5:30, I'm gone.
Right.
I'm not because I'm workshop. I'll stay around and pick stuff up.
Right.
But the end of the day when you start rushing. And I think there was an element of that day at Dunsfold. That was a shoot that was rushed for me. That was, and I know that was we need to use this day shoot. That's another one that's another red flag for me. We've got a day at a track, we need to fill it. Well, you've reverse engineered that,
Right.
Your priorities are already to fill something up.